Hey y'all, welcome to My Way Mysteries, the channel that brings you interdimensional content, which means that the readings or the videos are from a broad and expansive point of view, as they are channeled through vast dimensions of space and time, and therefore should resonate with you guys whenever you come across them. So I'm gonna do a revival reading, which is basically a collective reading for you guys, just like, check the temperature, see how you guys are doing, and help you navigate whatever it is you're going through, help talk you through it, and so forth, right? Cool. So there seems to be this feeling where some of you feel as though you're not doing enough. It can be in relation to a lot of things, but I'm feeling it more in relation to your spiritual path, where you feel as though like you're not doing enough, and you are correlating that with the results as you see them, as you perceive them. And you feel like you're not doing enough because if you were doing enough, then you would be seeing more. Honestly, I'm getting that you're doing enough based on like what you know. You can't do more than you know. Do you get what I mean? Like, you know how when you look back in your life and you feel guilty and you're like, I should have done this, but it's only because you're looking like in retrospect, like because you're at a point now where you know more. But you need to understand that that version of yourself couldn't do what you would do now because that version of yourself didn't know what you know, like what you now know. You know what I mean? And that's kind of the same feeling here. You feeling like you could be doing more, but you're doing as much as you can based on what you know. So maybe what you need to do rather is expand what you know. Like allow yourself to move out of your restricted area of knowledge. Allow yourself to investigate, to explore, to connect with more. And that will allow you to do more. Some of you, you've played with all the Legos where you are. There's nothing more you can do with what you like have. You've done all you can do with what you have. So you're basically hitting the ceiling and starting to feel stuck and starting to feel restricted and starting to feel all kinds of, uncomfortabilities. And with some of you, it's making you lash out mostly at yourself. Some of you may be projecting on others, but it's making you lash out mostly on yourself, and you're just feeling like you're not doing enough, and it's trickling into other places in your life where you're just starting to blame yourself for a lot of things. So some of you is trickling into your relationships where you feel like you perceive things to not be going well, and you feel like or maybe you're being made to feel like you're not doing enough. But honestly, I'm not getting the energy of someone who's not doing enough. Like, I'm not getting the energy of someone who is like lazy or just expecting things to happen, like wishing on a star or some shit. I'm getting the energy of someone who not only has the intention, but puts action behind that intention to do as much as they can to make their life beautiful, to make their life or even themselves something that they can be proud of, something that their children can be proud of and enjoy, someone that actually puts work into working on their inner selves. So every time a certain feeling comes up, or a certain emotion comes up, or a certain projection comes out, like I'm getting someone who sits and like analyzes, like does some retrospective work and asks themselves, like, why did I react this way? Even if something is done to you and you're not the one doing it, I'm getting that you're able to sit and try and understand why a certain person reacted in a certain way to what you said or what you did, especially if the way they reacted was not in alignment with your intention of what you did or what you said, which helps you then understand that this person wasn't even reacting directly to what you said, but what you said might have brought up a certain fear within them and they lashed out at you. Or what the other person said might have brought out a certain fear or a certain resistance within you. Maybe they made you feel like you weren't enough, and they may have not meant it that way, but because you're in a space where you're judging yourself right now, you immediately took that as, oh, they're saying that I'm not doing enough, and then you completely lashed out at them. But I'm getting someone who, even though that's what's happening, you're able to understand these things about yourself. You're able to understand your certain actions and so forth, but you're just caught in the space where you're wishing so much that like you would be different. You're wishing so much that you could be the saint. And I'm purposely putting it that way because, to be honest, I'm also getting that which you're wishing for is not healthy either. Because you seem to want to be a person who like never makes mistakes. You want to be perceived as a saint. And that's also why you're lashing out like at yourself. Which means you're lashing out at your shadow. You're basically saying to your shadow, why do you exist? Why are you here? And I just want to mention that, see, that's what's going to take you back a couple of steps. When you start talking to yourself that way, when you start talking to certain aspects of yourself that way, because that which you're talking to is alive, it's an intelligence. You could describe it even as an entity. It's alive. And it's a very powerful entity. It's a very intelligent entity. It's light years more intelligent than you are. And I don't mean that as an insult. I mean it as an observation. Your dark side is the only thing standing between you and complete stupidity. Your shadow side is the most intelligent part of you. It's also the most compassionate part of you. It's the most intuitive part of you. It's the most empathic part of you. So with you going through this like self-hate phase and directing it towards this part of yourself, your shadow side doesn't even mind if you can do this phase the right way. Because there is a right way to do what you're doing. There's a right way to go through what you're going through. Because every emotion, there's no waste here. in these dimensions, in these spaces. There's a way to do or go through certain phases in your life that, as low as they feel, as pathetic as you feel within them, you can still come out of those moments having transcended a certain phase in your life. That is to say, being ready to move into a next phase, a space where you no longer have to go through certain feelings again. There seems to be a need for you to understand that, like, yeah, because here you are, you're like shouting at yourself about how long it's taken you to get to a certain phase. Like, why do you feel like you planting all these seeds and these seeds are not like growing anything, and you feel like you're working so hard, you're putting your back into it? Like, Zanne was like, allow yourself to feel some emotions, and you did that, and you feel like it hasn't gotten you anywhere except being taken advantage of. And there's also seems to be a comparison with others around you, where you feel like other people are doing better. Yeah, where you feel like instead other people that you feel like are not doing the work, they doing better, and they seem to just be flowing through life and so forth. Okay, firstly, there seems to be a need for me to tell you that this part of yourself that you keep shouting at, this your shadow, we only call it shadow or dark side because it's a part of you that you don't understand. It's not actually dark. Like, it's not as in it's not a scary monster figure. It's not the ugly part of you because there is no ugly part of you. It's not a monster part of you because there is no monster part of you. You only perceive it that way because you can't see that dimension of you. You're not able to perceive it. And you're not able to perceive it because you've been conditioned to not perceive it the way it really is. You've been conditioned to see that part of yourself as monstrous and perverted and not good enough and all these type behind, basically, like never getting to where it needs to be. There's a set of conditioning in the world that makes it so that you perceive it that way. This thing we call your shadow, your dark side, it's your ultimate blueprint. It's exactly who you're trying to be. And that's why there was that reading where I said, that which you're looking for is right in front of you, but you don't see it because you don't know what it looks like. You keep desiring it and saying, I want this, I want to be this person, I want to be this person. This also speaks to sometimes people want something, but they don't know what it takes to get that thing. You don't understand what it takes to become the person that receives those things. You actually think the version of yourself you are right now is the version of yourself that will receive or sit at that table. It's not. The version of yourself you are right now is probably a version of yourself that at some point has to be transmuted because it still has self-limiting beliefs. And you're going to get to a stage where those self-limiting beliefs fall away, which means this version of yourself falls away. And you break into this new version of yourself. Some of you think that you're going to make it there with the people that you have around you right now. Why? The same people that break your heart over and over again. The same people you find it so hard to form boundaries against. Okay, let me just be frank. The same people that hate you. You see why this version of yourself is gonna fall away? It's the one that still resonates with the people around you that are doing wrong by you. or that have done wrong by you before, don't plan on changing, still wish bad upon you, still don't want you to succeed. And yet you might have this thing of like, I can't wait till they see me like break through. I can't wait till they see what I can become. Like, that's natural for the phase you're in right now. But it is exactly that phase, it is exactly that version of yourself that is not able to perceive what's truly happening within you. And so this part of yourself that you can't perceive, that you call your shadow, that you throw all these curses at and tell it that it's not good enough, is exactly the part of you that is going to receive that which you are meant to receive. It is exactly the part of you that is going to receive the spiritual inheritance that you will then manifest and transmute into joy in this dimension, into money in your bank account in this dimension, into connections which involve people like that you become friends with, or that become business partners, or that become future colleagues or lovers, in that state of being where you are in flow. That's going to be what we today here in this conversation call your dark side and your shadow side, because at that point you will have understood that was always the real you. You got the Ten of Cups and you've got the Ace of Pentacles. You're afraid of letting go of this version of yourself. You're so afraid of letting go of this version of yourself that you are attacking the version of yourself that is ready to let go of this part of yourself. That is this close. That is basically saying, fuck it. I want that part of you. You're like, what do you mean? What do you mean, fuck it? I've worked so hard for everything and they need to see me. They need to respect me. They need to see how far I've come. Because that part of you, that shadow part of you, it doesn't care. Doesn't give a fuck about these people. It has an inkling of its true purpose, which is to say you, because I guess I've never said this. Your shadow side, your dark side is your higher self. And that part of yourself, you're so afraid of it. You've been taught to call it the devil. You've been taught to call it all these bad words, like the evil you. But it's actually about to come into the light and you're going to be so shocked. I feel like you're about to get a sneak preview of a you that you thought was bad and evil, but you're going to realize that it's outside of good and evil, because good and evil are taught. And this version of yourself is so much bigger than that. And because of that, it easily connects to higher frequencies of joy, of abundance, of love, of understanding, of balance, of healing, of precision. You're going to see this somewhere. It's either you're going to see it in a certain person, or that part of yourself is going to come out, like I said, for like a sneak peek, where you're going to be able to observe yourself in certain situations, and after that you're going to realize, like, you see that person I was in that conversation, or that person I was in that argument, or that person I was in that meeting, that's it. That's who that's who I'm trying to be. And I'm letting you know right now, that's the one you tend to call your shadow. Because if you notice how it wasn't afraid and it wasn't threatened by what the other person was saying. Instead, that version of yourself has so much respect for itself, so much love for itself. By itself, I mean you. That nothing can shake that. So many new concepts are coming up in this reading, and I don't want to confuse you, but I'm going to say them as they come up. This part of you, your shadow side, you know how I was talking about how this version of you has to be transmuted? That doesn't mean that it has to disappear. This part of yourself wants to bring you along for the ride. You become the observer. You allow this part of yourself, you allow this, you perceive it as this, but it's actually this. You allow this part of yourself to take the driver's seat and you become the observer. It wants to take you along for the ride, to allow you to see that you have always been this. The version of yourself you are right now is just it's taught. It's rehearsed over years and years and years and years. And yet still inside you is this version of yourself. And this version of yourself, you don't have to be afraid of. It's not just going to kick you out or like eat you. It's not. It wants to take you along for the ride so that you can see everything you've worked towards within your inner self. And a rainbow also represents a promise fulfilled. And that's kind of like the communication that's happening here. Where this part of yourself, your higher self, which you previously called your shadow self, is making you a promise and saying, you're gonna make it out of this. This part where you feel so sad and like powerless and angry, for me, as your higher self, this is all part of the game. Believe it or not, I enjoy this. And I'm sorry that this is the part that kind of makes you sad and stuff like that. But it's cool. You're not going to have to take it on for long. Indaba, right now, you are player one. So you need to get through this part so that my time can come. And then you become player two. But you're still coming along for the ride. When we're saying transmute your energy, or it doesn't mean that you somehow fall away. No, you're there. It's just a part of you that is now able to perceive a higher part of you. So it is a different version of you. And yet still the same. And so is this higher self version. It's not different from me. It's not something from the outside. It's you. But different. So yeah, that's what I have for you guys. If the reading resonated, please like, share, and subscribe. If you want to book a personal reading, all that information is in the description box. If you want to book a mentorship session, that information is also in the description box. Cool, guys.